Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of the Gut Wrench Podcast. I'm your host, Mocha, and let me tell you, we've got a doozy for you today. So, me and the boys, of course, whenever I mention the boys, you guys know who the boys are, right? You've met them. We've been autograph signings together. We've been around the world. We've been up and down the street a little bit, We just been signing some autographs, signing your girlfriend's chest, And the next thing that I knew, me and the boys found ourselves in a little bit of a situation, basically. I'm just trying to say it with a cool accent like those New Yorkers. Hey, Tony, pass me a donut and order me some lasagna. Like those New Yorkers. Not the ones you see on TV. Bunch of freaking frauds. But anyway, unlike the New Yorkers that you see on TV, we've got a doozy for you today. And that doozy comes in the matter of fact that me and the boys, as I was previously saying, well, we were sitting down and we were talking basically about the fact that I waited like 2 days ago rather, to start watching something for the podcast. So if you don't know, I usually get this done. I usually end up watching things like on Tuesday, and then bleeding into Wednesday, and then Wednesday bleeding into Thursday, and then I have it done by Friday. Which it's Friday now, but the point is I usually start on Tuesday. This week I started on like Thursday night into Friday morning. Anyway, I guess it's not important. But if you knew my consistent schedule on how I plan this platform, you would find out that it's a little bit, awkward. And the reason that it's so awkward is because I didn't really know what I was going to watch, because I sit there and then I would rack my brain. Me and the boys, rather, would rack our brains trying to figure out what pay-per-view is popular on October. In October, not really on October, but in October. And we're almost through October, and I have yet to say anything about, spooky skeletons and goblins and Dora the Explorer not being able to find her map, Casper the Friendly Ghost, Bugs Bunny, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Any of these ring a bell, because these are usually costumes that people go as. Mickey Mouse. Hopefully just mentioning the name doesn't exactly put me in line for like a copyright strike somewhere, because I don't own properties to these characters that I'm mentioning. So therefore I cannot mention their names unless it's fair use, for instance, says that I can only use samples of songs, or for that matter here, let's say wrestling, for instance, WWE. I have no rights whatsoever to use any of their names, but I do anyway because fair use allows me to, because of the I'm allowed to criticize them as long as I'm criticizing, and for that matter as long as I'm almost like I have to, in one way or another, give some sort of context. Anyway, like I was saying before, it's kind of difficult for me to sit here and think, what did they do in October? Other than, hey, Susie G. Komen for the Cure. We're gonna run a 30-minute ad campaign during the wrestling about Susie J. Komen for the cure. Oh yeah, and by the way, in 2019 we gave these biatches, we gave these peeps $1 million. Yeah, John Cena did. Anyway, so I had a slightly good idea. I think it's a slightly good idea. I certainly don't think that it's a slightly bad idea. Seeing as though that on a consistent basis since like 2010, they've done a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell. Or, as some people like to call it, Heck in a Sec. So, seeing as though that Heck in a Sec comes in the October month, which is about spooky, creepy, screaming skeletons that send shivers down my spine, I decided that it was a good idea. Seeing as though that the name of the pay-per-view is, follow me here, Hell in a Cell. Are you ready? I added a sin counter. How many sins did they commit? You know? Okay, so for every time that they committed a sin, I basically put a tally mark beside of this little thing here that I had for a sin counter. And we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 32 sins. Well, 31 because I did remove one. So, but 32, I didn't actually remove it because I don't have any whiteout. But there was one thing that made me say, okay, sin removed. Like, I watch a lot of these. If you've never seen it, if you've never seen this on YouTube, you probably should go watch it because this man is funny. But start with something simple so that you know what it's about. You know, like sin counter. I mean, I don't know. It's up for interpretation, I guess. I didn't let the sins, by the way, interfere with the ratings of the matches in any way whatsoever. So if a match, for instance, got 4 or 5 sins just because I was able to sin it 4 or 5 times, it's just a gimmick. You know, it wasn't like, oh, this match got 5 sins, but it still got, 2 out of 5 stars because of the 5 sins that they did. Not worried about that. I'm just worried about the quality of entertainment that it provided, at least that it provided me with, because I really don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of. This platform might have been a lot more beneficial. Had I would have thought about it ahead of time, I should have started this whenever, I had someone to do this with, per se. Otherwise, it's just me talking to the air, the empty freaking air in my room. Oh, and the occasional dickhead that maybe comes through the door. Anyway, it's not important. Hell in a Cell, Heck in a Sec, 2014, ladies and gentlemen. So basically, they give us this promo package at the beginning telling us there is good and there is evil. Good and evil. And then they run down the whole John Cena, if he wins, he will get a chance to face Brock Lesnar. And then it goes on to say Randy Orton, if he wins, he will get a chance to face off against Brock Lesnar. But there's one thing that these two men have to contend with tonight. Hell in a Cell. And then it plays that famous clip of The Undertaker closing it behind him and the referee latching the door. And then it shows all the highlights from, the 90s and the 20s. Not the 20s, but the 2010s, the 2017s, the the 2007, the 2003, because God forbid, 2000 to 2004, you probably seen like at least 5 Hell in a Cell matches, because when a rivalry gets so personal, you have to have a stipulation. It's like, throw logic out the window, Like, you don't have to pay a lot of money in order to have this big structure be built to put 2 men in it for less than 30 minutes, hoping that you get your money back in ratings or something, or in advertisement or something of that nature, Because the ad campaign, I'm going to imagine, to, every day get on a microphone and have to sell it. Hey, we'll be facing each other in a, what Impact Wrestling used to call Full Metal Mayhem, except that was just a clever way to say a cage match. Aside from that, that's how this event starts, basically. And here's the first sin. So, I won't tell you every time that there's a sin, because obviously I didn't write down the word sin every time that I wrote down a sin, but I do remember basically having a clever discussion with myself. Oh, me and the boys, my fault. About 2 out of 3 falls match for the Intercontinental Championship. Dolph Ziggler's your Intercontinental Champion versus Cesaro. And this mid-card match is going to be our opening contest. This bout right here should not have been the opening contest. These two are way too good to be opening a pay-per-view of this stature. I feel as though that Big Show Rusev should have opened this event right here, and then after you open it with that, you would have the next match be, if I had to rearrange this card, it would probably be Stardust and Goldust against the Usos would be number 2. Even though that's a tag team championship match, priority for me would be the fact that the tag team championship match would probably, it's less relevant in my opinion, I suppose you could say, than the Intercontinental Championship match. And for that matter, I'm pretty sure I gave this match a lower, no, it got the same rating, but still just as many sins. As well as Nikki Bella versus Brie Bella. I would have put that as either the opening contest or the second match after the Tag Team Championships match, and then at least gave Dolph Ziggler versus Cesaro the third, made them like the third match on the card. But maybe Dolph Ziggler had a flight to catch or something. I want to think that there's an actual legitimate reason as to why that they would put them front and center like that. But nonetheless, that was the first sin. The second sin came from the fact that the Intercontinental Championship was the opening contest. Because I feel as though that it's, priorities would suggest that that should probably be at least the third or fourth match on the card. Just because Dolph Ziggler is an incredible main eventer, but for whatever reason they always keep him in the mid-card, opening contest, or pre-show. Also, the ref was out of position during one of the matches during one of the falls. So I went ahead and I gave him a sin counter. The actual match itself, though, was pretty good. Lots of kickouts, lots of left and rights, lots of backwards and forwards, and action coming in and going out, and lots of high flying. They call Cesaro the Swiss Superman at one point in time, which I take issue with because now they're building Roman almost to be the Samoan Superman nowadays. Oh, by the way, Roman, before I go any further. So, here's a full list, and I know I said full list, just bear with me here. I'm not going to name all 500 people. Here's the full list of PWI's top 500 for this year. Now, whenever I say for this year, there's something that I forgot to mention, because PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, seems to be extremely, how do I say this? They are, whoever puts this magazine together really doesn't know how a ranking system works. I feel as though, don't get me wrong, John Cena is not on here because, of course, he didn't wrestle the entire year of 2022. Their evaluation period is July 1st, 2021 until June 30th, 2022. Oh, okay. Okay. See, I thought that their evaluation period said July 1st, 2022 till June 30th, 2022. I'm sorry. That's on me. That's on me. And I suppose that they did have a lot to, go by. Within that year and 1 month time period. April, May, June, July. Okay, 11 month time period, my fault. Okay, so, number 1, Roman Reigns. Number 2, I'm just going to say Otaka because I think that that's how you pronounce that. I remember they call him the Rainmaker. CM Punk is number 3. Adam Page is number 4. Bobby Lashley is at number 5. Number 6 is Cody Rhodes. 7, Bryan Danielson. 8 is El Hidjodel. This is exactly why I want to keep up with NJP, New Japan Pro Wrestling, but unfortunately I don't have the resources right now and I can't. Number 9 is Big E Langston. 10 is Jonathan Gresham. 12 is Jon Moxley. 13 is Matt Cardona. 14 is Josh Alexander. Hiroshi Tanahashi, perhaps, is 15. 16 is MJF. 17 is Seth Rollins. 18 is Adam Cole. 19 is your boy KO, Kenny Omega. 20 is Drew McIntyre. 21 is Moose. 22 is Chris Jericho. 23 is Jay White. 24, Alexander. Okay, does Alexander have a last name? 25 is AC Mack. Braun Breaker comes in at 26. Wow. And he beats out Will Ospreay. No fuck. Oh my god. Wow. Braun Breaker beats out Will Ospreay. Wow. Somebody must have been sucking somebody off. Sammy Guevara is 28. Zack Sabre Jr. is 29. Mike Bailey is 30. Bandito, rather, is 31. Kotashi. We're going to skip 32 because that is Nakajawama. Okay, 33 is Ace Austin. I've seen him wrestle a few times. I can see how he makes it to the top 30s. So, yeah, basically number 1 is Roman Reigns. Holy crap, I forgot I was supposed to be... I don't know why. I just got a little bit carried away there. Nonetheless, Dolph Ziggler and Cesaro, Antonio Cesaro, I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Randy Orton has a beef with Seth Rollins, so he basically comes into the authorities' office and he's like, listen guys, I just need to tell you guys something. You know, I am so sick and tired of this little runt, you know, in the authority. We need to take care of him. And the authority just brushes it off, and then they're like, Randy, you're hearing voices again. Calm down. What you need to do is just focus on beating John Cena. Focus on John Cena. That's what they tell him. And sure enough, he should have been focused on John Cena. Yeah, but basically, he tells him to regain focus on John Cena and don't worry about Rollins. So then we get the Bella Twins match, where the loser has to become the winner's personal assistant for 30 days. And as soon as Nikki Bella's entrance music hits, and as soon as she comes out and does her little butt twirl or whatever it is that she does, Jerry the King Lawler says, my eyeballs just got very happy. This match just had to happen. So according to Michael Cole, this match just had to happen. And I feel as though that it didn't have to happen, but okay. SummerSlam 2014, Nikki double-crossed Brie, allowing Stephanie McMahon to pick up the victory off of Brie Bella. And we get one of the most cringe-worthy, in most wrestling circles, you will hear about how cringe-worthy this whole rivalry was, because week after week, Nikki Bella would come out and, I'm going to put this in air quotes, embarrass Brie Bella. She would somehow come out, say stuff like, I wish you would have died in the womb, and say stuff like, it's Brie's fault I never got a date to the prom. It's Brie's fault that I grew up with these scars. And it's almost like every small thing that's ever happened in Nikki Bella's life is always been Brie Bella's fault. They run a whole slander promotion, and most of them just show like Nikki sitting in a director's chair, you know, one of those like high chairs, but they're made for like adults, and with nothing but a black background behind her, and then she would say, it's Brie's fault. And this became such a big meme at the time that, let's say that an earthquake was to hit a nearby city where I live. I won't say any names or anything, but an earthquake was to hit a nearby city. People would make memes and say, it's Brie's fault that the earthquake hit the nearby city. or ISIS, for instance, or Osama bin Laden, 9/11. It's Bree's fault that 9/11 happened. Okay, we get it. She's the cause of everything bad, inherently bad, putting bad in the air quotes, by the way, because Osama bin Laden thought that he was doing something good. Obviously, Hitler thought that he was doing something good, so, each is to their own and whatever. So anyway, it shows highlights from SummerSlam 2014 where Nikki cost Brie the match. And the story is not there. It's not really given much of a story at all, and I give it 2.5 out of 5 stars. It's hard to get interested in something whenever you don't have a story to drive what it is that you're trying to portray, to take it or get it off the ground. Like, I see that they're wrestling. I see that they're trying to have a scuffle, or trying to find something to fight about, but I'm wondering why. Like, there was no championships on the line, so it obviously wasn't for a title or a title opportunity, for that matter. It was just a grudge match, but it wasn't really a grudge match because there was no grudge to begin with. It wasn't Bree's fault for anything. Nikki just decided to turn heel for no reason. Okay, so I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, if I didn't already say that. And Bree ends up being Nikki's personal assistant for 30 days. And also, I gave a sin for this right here. Like I said, I gave 32 sins. I won't tell you whenever I gave all those sins, all of them, just the most important ones. Michael Cole ends up calling Nikki Bella's finish. Well, the move itself is known as the Burning Hammer, or at least a version of it. But she calls it the Rack Attack. And Michael Cole calls it Nikki Bella's finishing maneuver. Like, he literally says, Nikki Bella just hit her finishing maneuver. Okay, what's it called, Michael? Please, for the love of God, don't be Vince McMahon. Oh, what a maneuver. What a maneuver by Stone Cold Steve Austin. What a maneuver. What a chin lock. What? Thought that you were supposed to be a color commentator. Learn the name of the move, you jerk. It's the Rack Attack. Decent wrestling, but poor story execution. And also, Booker T gets his 5 seconds of fame when he says, "Shucky ducky, quack, quack." And I called it the moment of the night. And no, Booker T did not get a sin for saying "shucky ducky, quack, quack." For those of you who do know, that was kind of his catchphrase back then. Tag team championships are on the line as Jimmy and Jay, the Usos, face off against Stardust and Goldust. So it shows how Stardust ended up winning 30 days prior at the Night of Champions pay-per-view with a roll-up. So apparently Stardust sent out one of these cryptic tweets to JBL, and he asks him a question. And the tweet reads, "A cowboy rides in into town on Friday. I'm sorry. A cowboy rides into town on Friday, stays for 3 days, then leaves on Friday. How is this possible? And apparently Michael Cole, he says he doesn't understand the question, which doesn't surprise me. But Michael Cole says that he doesn't understand the question or how it's possible. And JBL says that one's easy. He says the horse's name is Friday. And Michael Cole just says, what? How can I never get these things? And I'm assuming that they're talking down to you because they think that you're a child. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. He's like, what? How can I never get these things? I could have sworn for a second there that I just seen smoke coming out of my microphone that I'm recording on. But I'm pretty sure it was a hallucination. Hallucination. Okay, now for whatever reason, JBL gets completely off track. And I added a sin for this, by the way. This might be one of the more important ones. But for whatever reason, JBL just gets completely off track. And for whatever reason, he starts talking about how Stardust, it reminds him of the Missing Link. Now, the Missing Link was a wrestler back in JBL's time, probably, maybe, sort of, kinda. And I don't know much about him. Let's just put it that way. All that I know is that he used to come to the ring with, like, gray face paint or white face paint. So, yeah, I guess they both wore face paint, so maybe that's why Stardust is being compared to the Missing Link. And they don't talk about the match much at all. Michael Cole calls Rikishi. He calls him, put this one in air quotes, because he says, shades of daddy. Michael Cole, he's not your daddy. I gave this match 4 out of 5 stars. It was honestly a really good wrestling contest, especially for tag team wrestling. And it was tag team wrestling at its very finest. A low blow while the ref wasn't looking. Make sure that the Usos get caught off guard to lose the match. JBL, that was a hell of a match. Congrats, weirdos. So after, like, Stardust and Goldust win, JBL basically says, congrats, weirdos. Okay, now before we get into our next match, I must tell you guys something. I was not happy about this next match. Not at all. I thought for sure it was going to be another John Cena formula type of match. Wherever, John Cena struggles for a little bit, and then he gets up, and then he starts kicking ass, and then he starts kicking ass, and then he starts kicking ass, until one of the 4 moves of doom, the STF, the AA, the 5-knuckle shuffle, and I guess that leg drop that he barely uses anymore, until one of the 4 moves of doom that he usually has equipped to him usually gets the job done so that he can actually win the match. The John Cena formula, like the Hulk Hogan formula. He's losing, he's getting his ass kicked, and then all of a sudden his opponent starts beating him in the head, but then he's starting to Hulk up, and then he does that thing wherever he points at him, and then he says, "You!" And then he just does all of a sudden like a kip up and starts. I wish you guys could see me with my hands right now because I'm like punching the air, trying to demonstrate, even though nobody can see me, exactly what it is that John Cena and or Hulk Hogan does during their match. Like 80% of their matches go that way. I thought for sure that this was going to be another John Cena boring heavy match, And the thing is that before the match even starts, they talk about how now it's time for a renewal of a great rivalry. They talk about how both men started at around the same time, which is right on the money. They also talk about the fact that this is a great rivalry, but I can tell you right now that as a wrestling fan watching this was not a, quote, great rivalry. This was an overplayed trope that they would use at every turn in order to get John Cena heat or in order to get Randy Orton momentum before a major pay-per-view match. And usually it would end in Randy Orton winning via disqualification, or for that matter, they would have like this, Randy Orton feels like being a bully today, so John Cena's here to stop that, because here in WWE, we know how to deal with bullies. Something of that nature. They would always have like a reason behind John Cena facing Randy Orton, but I'm telling you, whether it was Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, Wednesday Night Main Event, Saturday Night's Main Event, because that was a thing too, any Sunday night pay-per-view, it doesn't matter whether it was a tables match, a cage match, a street fight, which I'm sure that they faced each other in all three of these, TLC match, which they did the December before this, they mentioned it, the TLC match. They faced each other in 2 Hell in a Cell matches, one before this one that I'm going to talk about here in just a second, and the Hell in a Cell match, this one right here, the one before it, and then this one right here. Holy crap. I'm sure they faced each other in a cage match. I'm sure as the sky is blue, they've faced each other in multiple matches over the course of their illustrious career. The point is that it's been shoved down my freaking throat so many goddamn times, I felt like as though that I wanted to skip this match and just move to the next match, and then just say, sorry everybody, couldn't watch this one, because I'd already had it shoved down my throat 30,000 times. However, I was missed. I was caught off guard because this match was actually pretty decent. The story behind it, not so much. Because they want to tell you that it's the renewal of a great rivalry. They used comparisons such as Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. I don't know, I don't play nor watch basketball. Frazier versus Ali. Brady versus Manning. Once again, I don't box. I never really got into football either. But if those of you at home had watched any of these rivalries unfold in front of you, please tell me. Please reach out to me on Instagram at Mocha_CPR. That's MOCK. Holy crap. Who in the fuck am I? Mickey Mouse? That's MOCHA_CPR. M-I-C-K. Did I really just say that? For those of you keeping track, that was the second Mickey Mouse reference of the episode. And they make good and bad seem... Here's where I added another sin, by the way. Making good and bad seem black and white. Calling Orton's motives sinister in nature. And since 1997... Okay. This Hell in a Cell... this Heck in a Sec, rather, match is number 29. And Randy's 6th Hell in a Cell. So out of 29, Randy Orton has had 6 of them. The last time Cena was in the Hell in a Cell was in 2011. Okay, so they kind of confused me here. Because what they say is the last time that John Cena was in a Hell in a Cell was 2011. Michael Cole doesn't even get halfway through what he's saying, and then he ends up starting another sentence and saying the last match Orton and Cena had in Heck in a Sec, Orton won. Cena's fourth Hell in a Cell. So this is Cena's fourth Heck in a Sec. This is Randy Orton's sixth Heck in a Sec. And we get the Let's Go Cena, Cena Sucks chants. We get those rallying at least 3 times during this contest. And yes, I did send it 3 times. Those chants, by the way, remind me of Let's Go Brandon. Randy Orton's taunt. Cena pins Orton off of a crossbody. And we get this surprise RKO. So usually, like I said before, I was talking about the John Cena match formula. How it reminds me of, like, you know, Hulk Hogan's old matches. And every match that he would have to do the Hulk up thing, wherever he would get, like, extremely pissed at his opponent for, like, punching him in the face a few times. And I don't like discriminate. I would get mad at someone if they ended up punching me in the face too, you know. Just throwing that out there. Me and Hulk Hogan have something in common. Call me. You should definitely call me Hulk Hogan. We could do lunch together, as long as you're paying, you know. We can go to the most expensive restaurant. Just ignore what I just got done saying. I don't want to date Hulk Hogan or anything. What? Who said that? Was it you? Anyway, Orton gets pinned. Okay, usually Cena goes for that classic Cena offense, which is like the shoulder tackle. His opponent's down. His opponent gets back up. Shoulder tackle again. And then his opponent goes for a clothesline. And then John Cena ducks under the clothesline. And then as he dunks under the clothesline, he also hits him with that backdrop. It's sort of a backdrop. And then after that, he does the "You can't see me." And then he goes from one side of the ropes to the other side of the ropes. And then he goes for the 5-knuckle shuffle, which, by the way, is slang for masturbation. Thought that you should know that. And then he goes for the thing. And then he does after the 5-knuckle shuffle, he goes for the AA and then the pin. But that's not what happened. See, Cena went for the second shoulder tackle. Randy Orton RKO'd him right there. He knew how to stop the Cena train before it even got started. He got the 1, he got the 2, and then Cena kicks out. Was some surprising energy there because I didn't see that one coming. I thought for sure, I was like, here we go with the John Cena formula. And then almost as soon as I said with the John Cena formula, Randy hits him with the RKO from out of nowhere. Cena trying to kill Orton by throwing those steel, I put that in air quotes because they're not steel, they're aluminum, ring steps at him while he wasn't looking. Fast count at the end, but nonetheless, John Cena picks up the victory. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because, as I said, it surprised me. There's no way that I'm giving a John Cena and a Randy Orton match 4 out of 5 stars. What? Who said that? Not me. Somebody call the sheriff. Oh my god. Okay, so shut up. JBL on commentary after this match was over, he said, "Somebody call the sheriff. These men just stole the show." I'm done. And then we get the United States Championship match as The Miz, accompanied by Mizdow, versus Sheamus. The United States Champion is now held by someone from Ireland. So if you'll remember in last week's episode, I talked about the fact that the United States Championship at that time was being held by a Canadian. It seemed to bother JBL then, but JBL right now could care less whether or not someone from Ireland is holding the United States Championship. It's fine though. I don't mind it either. Ireland, England, practically the same country. Anyway, the Miz and Mizdow come to the ring, and Sheamus. Now, here's the thing though. The Miz has a stunt double, so everything because of course he's going through this whole, hey, I'm Hollywood big time now because I recorded 2 or 3 movies. He's going through that gimmick, which we've seen before, but we've never seen in this capacity. We've never seen someone actually do something like this to this extreme, who actually has a walking stunt double who follows them around and does everything that they do. I'm serious. So every time that Sheamus would do something to Mizdow would do it to himself. So if Sheamus kicked the Miz in the teeth, Mizdow sure enough would fall like a sack of shit. He would. If the Miz was being punched in the face, then Mizdow would act as though that he got punched in the face. And it got to the point to where Mizdow started receiving more chants than the Miz. Because people are actually more entertained, I'm going to assume, by Mizdow than they are by the Miz. Nonetheless, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. A lot of chicanery going on here, a lot of, hoopla, if you will. Sheamus ends up retaining his championship. And Nikki Bella pours a smoothie on her sister Brie. Alright. As I stated before, I gave the last match 3 out of 5 stars. I also gave this one, once again, poor story. Really not that much of a story, except for, and they do the same thing that they did with the whole, why do they do this? They try to make bad, almost like they try to influence your decision as to what's good and what's bad. Russia bad, America good, that's what they try to do here too. This is a story about an American facing off against a Russian, basically. Big Show faced off against Rusev in what seemed to be a very poor storytelling. So for whatever reason, during the go home show before the pay-per-view, there seemed to be this American flag standing behind the big Russian bull known as Rusev, and Rusev tries to pull it down when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, out of the crowd, comes a figure, someone who is dressed all in army GI, and he gets kicked in the head. The Big Show comes out, and the Big Show tries to save the man, or at least fend off the Russian invader, if that's what you want to call him. And he basically says, you've gone too far. Like, you don't kick our armed forces in the head. This man had no reason to be in a wrestling ring. First off, if he wanted to pull down, if the big Russian Rusev wanted to pull down the American flag, maybe it offends him or something, let him do it. It's not like he was going to set it on fire. Oh, wait. That was another group. Yeah, don't worry. One day we'll talk about the Un-Americans. Which I feel as though that the Un-Americans should have been called like the pro-Canadians. But no, they weren't the pro-Canadians. They were just, hey, we're anti-American. Anywhere else that we go. Like, why couldn't they have just been like, three or four guys who are just proud to be Canadian. You know, what was it? Test, Christian, Lance Storm. That was it, wasn't it? Yeah. I don't think Edge was in there. Oh my God, it's so cool. Like, they'd come out and then they'd be like, all right, this week we're serious. We're really going to burn the American flag. And then all of a sudden somebody comes out and stops them, you know. And it's like, oh man, we really didn't get to burn the American flag. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting off track. But if you've been following wrestling as long as I have, go on Google, right? Go WWF The Un-Americans. I bet you'll find them, and God have mercy on their souls. Okay. Anyway, it tells the story of the USA versus Russia. Russia equals bad, USA equals good. So I basically gave it a sin for that whole story trope. That's not funny. That's not cool. Especially with what's happening today. Rusev, not Russia. Rusev is undefeated, and we get these USA chants. USA, USA. And after Rusev wins from the Big Show, which, by the way, I gave this match 3 out of 5 stars. It was fairly decent. It probably went on a little bit too long for my taste, but it was fairly decent. Just poor story execution once again. Anyway, we get a promo from Dean Ambrose, who will be competing later on tonight. He says Seth Rollins is like a zombie from The Walking Dead. If that zombie had sex with Dracula's grandma, and gave birth to a cross between oatmeal and roadkill on a pogo stick. So, you know, that really touched my funny bone, man, because I was like, hang on, Dean, I'm going to have to write this down. So, him and Seth will burn in hell together, is what he said. Then the next match we get is the Divas Championship match, and because they still calling it Diva, I'm going to have to give it a sin. That's one of the 32 sins. Well, 31. I removed one sin. I'm pretty sure I wrote that down somewhere, that I removed a sin. No, I don't see it anywhere. Unless it's on the next page. Nope, the next page is the end of the show. Okay, anyway, the Divas Championship match. I remember writing that down, though. As AJ Lee, our champion, faces off against Paige, the challenger. AJ lost to Alicia Fox 6 days, so at the go-home show before this event right here, AJ Lee lost to Alicia Fox thanks to a distraction from Paige, who Paige and Alicia are now new best friends. Anyway, before this event, and they call the Women's Championship the Divas Championship. AJ Lee also calls herself the One-Woman Divas Revolution, which she should have called herself the One-Woman Woman's Revolution. But at this point, I'm just splitting hairs. Someone told Paige. Okay, so Paige is she's outside the ring, and it's a good thing that I had my headphones on, or else I couldn't hear this. If I was listening to it on my speaker, I'm almost certain that my speaker wouldn't had allowed me to hear this. It just hit my microphone. I'm so sorry. Someone in the crowd yells, and they say, "See some sunlight for once in your life." Also, the referee, and yes, I did give that person a sin, so add that one to the sin counter. The referee counts on Paige and AJ, who is laying outside the ring. You cannot win a championship via countout, by the way, But anyway, they're outside the ring. The referee is counting, and apparently the ref forgot how to count because I swear to God, he goes 2. And then after that, he goes, come on, get in the ring. And then he goes 4. And then I'm like, 4, 2, 4. I'm curious to know, was him saying, come on, get in the ring, his way of saying 3? I swear. I was like, wait, what? So, yeah, I added a sin for that, too. I should have added 2 to 4 sins, but I didn't do that because I'm fair. But nonetheless, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I would have given it at least 4 out of 5. But for one, the referee can't count. For two, it's called the Women's Championship, not the Divas Championship. For 3, Paige screams a lot. Let me tell you, she's a screamer. I had some small, issues with this event right here. Well, not this event, rather. Not this event, okay? So, with this particular match. And now, that brings me to the main on the ladder day, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. Well, good night, everybody. The Gut Wrench Podcast. As Dean Ambrose faces off against Seth Rollins. So, in April of 2014, if I remember correctly, or at least that's what the highlights showed us, Seth Rollins took a chair and he stabbed his brothers in the back. So this man decided that it was a great idea. For whatever reason, he took a steel chair and he basically whomped Roman Reigns in the back. Almost like stabbing a family member in the back. Everybody's chanting, you sold out, why Seth, why? Why would you do that? Because for 2 years, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, all 3, stood atop the mountain. They all 3 had championships. They all 3 had fame. They were on the cover of magazines. They were the next hot sensation in wrestling. If wrestling had a boy band, these 3 would be in sync. I mean, quite literally, they were in sync with everything. There's nothing that they were out of sync about. This match right here, though, it was just awesome. It was amazing. It was cool. So, Dean Ambrose, the crazy man that he is, ended up starting the match on top of the cell, much like in 1997, Mankind did with The Undertaker. Now, that was at the King of the Ring in 1997, and Mankind later said in many interviews, Mick Foley later said in interviews that to start the match on top of the cell was not his original idea, but rather it was Terry Funk's idea. He got put through the cell. He took like 3, count them, not 1, not 2, but like almost, well, it may have been 2, it may have been 3. The number is debatable, but pretty sure I counted 3. At least 8 to 10 foot drops. And, man, ooh, boy. So, he says that he regrets that. Or, that's what I read. That if he was to go back, he would definitely do things a little bit differently. But with all of that in mind, why in the hell would Dean Ambrose start this match on top of the cell? Is it because he's crazy? Is it because he has a death wish? I mean, in all honesty, it was probably for a good storytelling element. Because if you're not going to go big, why would you even try? But they duplicated it a little bit. They duplicated the Mankind's Great Fall. I feel like that they've had a conversation, that they were probably in Vince McMahon's office, and then he was like, you know what you have to do, right? And then they were looking at each other thinking, no, what do we have to do? And then he was like, you're going to have to take a drop from the top of that 15-foot structure. And then they were like, what, we're going to break our backs doing that, you know? Like, so I noticed something this time around. They seem to have had these you know what construction workers use to climb up like power poles and trees? They seem to have like some sort of pocket there so that they could put their shoes. And they were like fighting on the side of the cell. And they went through the tables. And lo and behold, you almost seen what you would have seen back in 1997, except they were a lot safer about it. It was one headbutt that Dean Ambrose did that knocked Seth Rollins off, and then afterwards, Ambrose lets go of the cell. He wasn't like at all affected by the recoil of anything. Really though, this match, I feel as though that this was a Hell in a Cell match done right. If you were to do a Hell in a Cell match, I feel as though that Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and the evolution of Seth Rollins is honestly amazing. We've seen him go through so many evolutions over the years, from the leader of the Shield, those are his words, not mine, to the Visionary, to Mr. Monday Night Rollins, Mr. Money in the Bank, the champion, Seth Rollins, and each time that he evolves, each time that he recreates his character, he does it so damn well. I never get tired of seeing Seth Rollins being the bad guy, the titular heel, and if the devil had a face, it would be Seth frickin' Rollins. I look forward to every Monday night that I get the opportunity to look at this man. Every time that I do see him, I see Seth frickin' Rollins. There's a reason that Becky Lynch chose him. Or a reason that he chose Becky Lynch, rather. You want to know what the funny part is? Becky has this gimmick where she's the man, right? Seth was once known as the Man. And if you trace it even further back, you'll see that Hulk Hogan was once known as the Man. You'll see that Steve Austin was once known as the Man. You'll see that Ric Flair was once known as the Man. Buddy Rogers was once known as the Man. Really can't think of who else was, the Man actually come out and say, hey, I am the Man. And to do it in such a fashion like that, because other than Roman Reigns, there was that one stint where he was known as the Man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, It's that time again. Time to clean out your gutters? No. I'm going to try this again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. Time to make fun of the Disney Channel? Really? Really? Why would I make fun of the Disney Channel? Listen, why don't you go home and let me finish my outro, okay? By the way, I gave this match, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, 4 out of 5 stars. So, if we're keeping track, before I say it again, get the French toast out of my room. 1, let me think. Uh, 1 minute, and I'll be right with you guys. What? Oh, okay. There it is. 2. Okay. So I got 2. 3. 4. I have 4. I've counted them, and I should have counted them before this program began, but I have 4 out of 5 star matches for this one event. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. Don't say a word. It's time for me to close the show. That's what time it is, okay? It's not time for your period. It's time for me to close the show. I swear, if I have to deal with incompetent people who think that they're funny trying to muddy my waters, why would I make fun of the Disney Channel? I swear, who writes this stuff? It's me. I write this stuff. It's me. I write this stuff. Thank you all so much for joining me. My name is Mocha. If your name's not Mocha, then you must be doing something wrong in life. Good night, everybody. And that's a wrap, just in case I'm doing one thing that he's saying versus one thing that he's not saying. Maybe I should start including what he is actually saying, what I'm almost absolutely sure that he is absolutely saying into my promos. What really gets me is how Kenny Omega, if I remember correctly, he's ranked number 19, and God dang it, I swear, top 500 wrestlers. Thank you all so much for joining me for another episode of the Gut Wrench Podcast. I've been your host, Mocha. That's a wrap. And good night, ladies and gentlemen.